So today, I'd like to talk about a medical technology that could change a lot of lives, including my own, and that is cultured stem cells, specifically autologous stem cells, I believe they call them. And so if you haven't seen my previous video about my vision and what's wrong with my eyes and um, what I had done in the past with stem cells, I'll give you a quick rundown to get you up to speed. So essentially, my I was born with a condition where the eyes don't fully form at birth, and there are certain structures in the eye that are formed last. And what happens is those structures are either sometimes not formed at all, or sometimes just not completely formed. And one of those things is in the front of the eye, you have your iris, and you have all the musculature that controls the iris opening and closing to restrict light in bright conditions. And then you also have your cornea, which is like an outside window to the world. You have the sclera, the white part of your eye, but then you have the cornea, which is the clear tissue. Well, between those two, you have a ring of stem cells around your cornea. And those stem cells keep your cornea healthy. So if you get a scratch or get dust in your eye and you get scratches or whatever, those stem cells repair the cornea and keep it healthy throughout your lifetime. So in the case of someone like me, where those stem cells never fully form and they start dying, um, your vision gets obstructed. And that's what happened to me. So I had, in the past, they had to wait for your cornea to get so bad that it was basically your vision was unusable, and they would just give you a cornea transplant. And then if that failed, they'd have to do it again. And you never knew how long that would last. It could be 6 months, it could be a decade, and you just don't know. And unfortunately, if it happens again, you just have to have it done again. Well, the idea with the stem cells is that they're just going to hopefully last a person's entire life. And so I had a procedure called a kerotal limbal allograft. And so that is where they take stem cells from a deceased adult and they implant them in your eye. So they take out any scar tissue that you might have on your cornea, and they left my cornea intact, and then they implanted the donor stem cells. And then what happens is you end up having to take eye drops and things, but you also have to take pills, which are immune suppression.
I forgot to mention that I only had this done in one eye because they typically only do one eye at a time.
And that's the same type of thing that if somebody goes and they have like a liver transplant or a heart transplant, and you have to keep your body from rejecting that foreign tissue. And so you end up having to take these chemicals that reduce your immune response, which is terrible if you are exposed to, um, if you're working in an environment where you have, imagine being back in 2020 with something like that. So, and not only does it increase your risk of getting sick, it also makes you just feel generally sickly. It it gave me low energy. One of the side effects was weight gain. It made me feel like I had brain fog. I mean, just you know, um, into I will just say indigestion and other digestive issues. So that wasn't fun. But I wanna be clear that I'm very very thankful uh, to my doctor. I'm thankful that I live in a time when I had that available to me, because it was a life changer. I mean, the best way I could describe the way my vision looked before having that surgery was, imagine you're in a parked car in a parking lot somewhere, right? And there's this just downpour, just a torrential rain pour. I wanted to say gully washer because they used to say that in the old days, and I kind of like that old term. But anyhow, um, imagine you're sitting there, and you could take just a snapshot of what it looks like. There's no windshield wipers on, just this water cascading down the windshield, and you have sort of these blurry pockets where the water is bending the light as it comes through the windshield and hitting your eye. And so everything looks kind of blurry and weird. Well, that's the best analogy I can think of to describe the way my vision looked at the time. And so, as you can imagine, that made it hard to do things like read and do things where I needed more fine vision. I could still do things like get up and walk to the bathroom or whatever, but it made it hard to do anything that took, um, good, better vision. My vision isn't. I mean, there's still other issues with my eyes, so my eyes aren't. I don't have 20/20 by any means, but it's way better than it was. So um, now I had to take that immune suppression, and with these cultured stem cells, the idea is that I happened to ask the doctor one day during the checkup. I said, you know, aren't they? Isn't there a way they could use your own stem cells? So then presumably, I wouldn't have to have the immune suppression. And he said, well, they are working on that ability. They call it cultured stem cells. And it's been off into the future, and they didn't know how long it was going to be for a long time. And just a couple days ago, I went back to this specialist out of state, um, and he informed me that they are now thinking that it's going to be within 2 or 3 years. And he said, as a matter of fact, they will probably be starting um, clinical trials before that. And so I may be able to have this done fairly soon. And I think this is awesome because my other eye is gotten pretty blurry and bad. Oh, it's starting to rain. I'm going to have to head home here. So let's get up and go.
Hey, so I was just realizing that I forgot to mention how these stem cells are cultured. So after they go traveling and go to the museums and sorry, bad joke. Um so they are usually in like a petri dish or some other substrate, and they will have nutrients in there, proteins, and growth factors. And then they will also usually have them incubated in a controlled environment for temperature, CO2, and humidity, things like that. And they just watch them and they make sure um, that they have what they need to grow, the ideal conditions, the ideal nutrients, and everything. And then they may take the ones that are successfully being grown and put them into another medium to give them more room to grow without crowding. And so eventually they can have a lot so they can use for other things, whether it's more research or for therapeutic purposes, different surgeries and things like that.
I don't know if you can hear the thunder, but the cool thing is that this should work for other things too. Um, Imagine if a person has um, a tumor or something. They could take healthy tissue from that organ, have those stem cells grown in the lab, and then when they cut out that tumor, they would have some tissue to put there. I mean, I don't know exactly where they are in that regard, but it sounds like we're a lot closer for using it for my eyes, which to me is just exciting. So I'm super happy about it. I wanted to share this. I hope that you found this interesting. I know this isn't exactly phones and computers and smart home tech and all that stuff that we all love, but and it's not tools. But I thought medical technology. I mean, it's just amazing, and I was hoping that you guys would be um, interested in this. So if you want to see my my previous video that I was talking about the condition, and I kind of show go into a little more detail about my experience with stem cell surgery. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. And I'm going to get home before it starts downpouring. It's already raining. Talk to you later.